Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of In the Fox's Den. You know, when you see people on television, you don't maybe know their names, but they appear everywhere, and their face is so familiar, and they always seem to be a larger than life character in those programs. Well, my guest today is just such an actor. You will have seen him in so many things, including Blake Seven and Eastenders, but you'll have seen him in a lot of other things as well. So let me introduce Brian Croucher. Hello, Brian Croucher. How are you,
Good
sir?
afternoon, Rick.
How are you keeping?
All right.
We're all coming out of lockdown slowly, so hopefully we can get together soon, and I can see you properly rather than just over the internet.
Over the airways, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, the pandemonium will be over.
Well, I don't know about over, but certainly we're maybe getting back to near normality. That'd be a good start.
I don't want to ever be normal, Rick. I never admitted to being normal.
You're certainly never that, Brian.
I'm an actor. You can't be normal.
No actor's normal. So give us a little bit about your background. You were born in 1942, which amazingly means that you're going to be 80 next birthday, and I can't believe that because you're still doing so much work and you look younger than me, bastard. So I don't think you're ever going to retire. You still look so fit and healthy, but give us some idea about those early days. And you grew up in Hackney, was it?
Well, yeah, when I remember back, when I'm thinking back, I was born in the middle of World War II in 1942, because it was basically 39 to 45, 6 years. So, 39 to 42. So I was bang in the middle. And I lived in Hackney for my formative years. I was born in Guildford, actually, in a hospital that's no longer there. But I do remember living in Hackney, my father carried me down the stairs and seeing, because we're near the docks in Hackney, all the searchlights just coursing across the sky. That's my earliest memory, really. So I grew up in Hackney. I went to Amherst Primary School and then got into Hackney Downs Grammar School. And as I've mentioned in the past, 10 years before me was the great playwright Harold Pinter. He went to the same school. Then, like most young people, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I fell into an apprenticeship in the print and did 5 years there, and didn't really like it, working with machines and in a cellar. And for some unknown reason, I found myself in bad company, Rick. When you're young, you've got a lot of energy and no focus, but you did have a little Vespa, a 125 Vespa, and you were a mod. Then you became a mod because you didn't have a motorbike, so you weren't a rocker.
I can imagine you on a Vespa, Brian, to be honest.
My little short 3-button jacket, all of that. And then I graduated to, I passed my driving test, and I graduated to a van, because that you could go places. You could have a mattress in the back, say no more. And that's what it was. I hadn't passed my test. I was a learner, and one day, or a number of days, but this particular day I was caught without a qualified driver sitting alongside me, being a young tearaway, and I got caught and I got put in prison. Now, nowadays they wouldn't have room for you in prison because it's a lot of drug related, money laundering. There's no room to give somebody 6 months for driving whilst disqualified. But then I went away and I saw another side of life. It was an experience. Instead of doing my national service, I went to prison for 6 months. And I saw things in there that the word is recidivist. It's a good word, isn't it? I didn't want to be
It's a word I can't say. Yeah, but go on.
It's that lisp that you've got, a recidivist. Yes. And somebody who goes back to prison time and time again. I didn't want to do that. So I went to evening school and I found my way through a friend and his girlfriend saying, go to the Bow Institute and do drama classes. So I thought I'd go along there, and I did, and I enjoyed it. And then I met some guys there. Oh no, the guy who ran it, his son, he was working at the Players Theatre, and Dick said to me, my son's looking for some time off at Christmas, and would you like to go and be a showman? They're the people who move all the furniture around, stage managers, sort of. Yeah. I said, yeah, okay. And so I went along there and at Christmas and worked the pantomime for the Players Theatre, and I quite enjoyed it and got the information. They said, well, you could go on a stage management course, and then you can become a technician at the BBC, and you know, the whole of that opened up, and I thought, oh, this is good. So I auditioned, I had a meeting at Lambda in the Cromwell Road and got into that course. But they sent us to these acting classes, stage managers, because there was nothing to, at the beginning of term, there was nothing to stage manage. And so you had to get to know the actors and what they were doing. Oh. And I thought I could do that. And I went to some of the classes and improvised. And I thought, well, yeah. So then I thought, well, I could do this. Because I was improvising with people like Brian Cox, Martin Shaw, you know, and I thought, well, if they can do it, so can I. I mean, Brian came out, a working class boy out of Dundee. Martin, well, he was working class, but he thought he was coming out of Birmingham. You can tell by the way he speaks now. But old Martin. And anyway, I had an audition. Somebody helped me with my pieces, and I got in, and I was there with all these people who I had no knowledge of. They came from Oxford, or their parents were sort of well-to-do, and they all spoke. Well, I was the odd one out, really. But I got through the 3 years, and I became a professional actor in 1966.
Tell me something. Tell me something, Brian. The time that you got, let's go back to when you got in with a bit of the wrong crowd. Now,
oh yeah,
you've been in so many things. Your face is known from, and I'm going to go through a few of them in a minute because I just can't believe how prolific you are in terms of acting over the years. But let's be honest, a lot of those was you as a wrong 'un. Now, did that time spent amongst the wrong crowd teach you lessons later on for playing those parts?
Oh, well, yes. When you're young, you think you can buck the system. You think you can get away with it. Well, you know, you do things like drive into petrol stations, fill up your car or your Lamborghini or your Vespa and drive off. Well, there were no cameras in those. There's no CCTV. So you did go back to that garage, of course. But you know, there were riots. I mean, what's that famous the Vespers down in Brighton, and the Rockers and all that. Oh God. But we that's where we used to go. We used to go down there.
Like Quadrophenia.
Quadrophenia, you've got it, my man. Yeah. We were like gangs of what they like to call hooligans. So you know, we didn't. I wasn't a heavy criminal. I never carried a sawn off or anything like that.
No, I think the only time you've been a real heavy criminal is probably on our screens. Now, I don't usually carry notes, but I've got 4 pages here things that, and I just want to read out to the viewers just some of the things that you've done and where they would have seen you, because you've got such a well-known face, and you know, we'll come to some of them and talk. We'll talk about
what I'd like to say, Rick,
yeah,
is that I am a success story, in as much that, as Zorba the Greek said, when he was asked by Alan, what's his name? He said, Alan said to him, to Anthony Quinn as Zorba, "Are you married?" He said, "Am I not a man? I have a house, wife, children, a full catastrophe." Well, you know, I've got that now. You know, some people that of my age, they're still living in rented rooms. You know,
seriously, and I know that you're still working, and later on we're going to come to where people can see you next, because you're still working. I still pop up.
Yeah.
I just want to read out some of the places where people have seen you. You were Mr. Prentice in Call the Midwife, Morgan Copeland in Lucky Man, Ray Jessup and Charlie Wright in Doctors. So you had two parts in that one. You were a prison governor in Rise of the Foot Soldier 3, the Pat Tate story. You were Jimmy Harper in We Still the Old Way. You were Tony Mills in New Tricks. You had 3 parts and possibly more, as far as I could see, in the bill, including.
I was in the bill over 12 times.
Oh, there you go. So you played loads of parts, and you're either a policeman or you're a gangster. So so those seem to be the parts. You were Trev Parr in Casualty. You were, and we'll come back to this one because everyone knows you as Ted Hills in EastEnders, of course. You were Addy in Lovejoy. You were a warder in Birds of a Feather. Harry Laws in The Detectives. Ted Nugent in Bottom, and that's a story in itself. Mr. Glanville in Grange Hill. You were both a policeman and a robber in Bread. You were Dave in The Comic Strip Presents. You haven't finished. You were, I'm missing out a lot. You were the Chief Superintendent Barry Wyatt in Rockcliffe's Babies, a landlord in Filthy Rich and Cat Flap. You were 2 different robbers in The Young Ones. You were Jack Mangan in The Chinese Detective, Georgie in The Professionals, George in Hammer House of Horror, Harry Blandon, you get called Harry a lot, Harry Blandon in The Gentle Touch, Big John in Minder, a police lieutenant in Quatermass, a policeman again in Sykes, Harry Shepherd in Shoestring.
I think Harry was a name given to my generation, you know, born in the war.
That's true.
Hello, Harry.
This is another one we're going to come on to. You were Travis, Space Commander Travis in Blake 7. We'll definitely talk about that and EastEnders. You were Chris Cottle in Out, Hunter in Trevor Island, Borg in Doctor Who, Terry in The New Avengers, Bernie Lawson, Colin Price and Whitley in Softly Softly Task Force, Daniel Devine in Father Brown, Ralph Keaton in General Hospital, Gordon in The Jensen Code, Wheeler in Dixon of Dock Green, Jarrow in Callan, and Johnny Keller in Crossroads. I mean, and that is about, I reckon, a quarter of what I've got down here. You've never stopped working, Brian.
Well, you know, people ask you to do something, and if it seems to be okay and the money's right, then you know, you go for it. And it's quite enjoyable in many ways. You get to see different locations, different parts of the country. You meet different people. Some scripts are good, some scripts are bad. Some directors are great, and some directors need to get another job. But
that's the thing. I mean, I've only gone through TV and film there, but you've done a lot of stage work as well. And you've worked with people like Margaret Lockwood, David Niven, Warren Mitchell, George Segal, Ernest Borgnine. I mean, it's just an incredible life, Brian.
Well, I've always said I was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And when you're basically a character actor, you know, if you're lucky, you're flavour of the week, then you become flavour of the month, flavour of the year, and you're a leading man, and you go through the spine of the story, the film or TV series, whatever. But in a way, I was never, I wouldn't say lucky, because some of those things, once you're in it and you're in 6 episodes or the whole film, you got to carry it. But if you just come in as the window cleaner and do a few jokes and kiss the bloke's wife and that say goodbye, you know, you get away with it. But it's a funny old life being an actor. It's very torturous. It's not an easy one to take on board. But
no,
I quite like it. I quite like it because it gave me a lot of freedom, and that. In reflecting on freedom, this pandemic, it's made me feel odd because it's taken away my freedom to roam, as it were.
Well, you certainly don't look old, and you certainly don't act old, and you're still doing loads of work. I want to come to 2 that I mentioned, 2 of the TV programs that I mentioned, where people will definitely know you. So let's go back in time a little bit and tell me a little bit about playing Travis in Blake 7.
Well, I'll go back a little bit in time before that. There was a well received 6-part series starring Tom Bell called Frank Ross Is Out, which was a rather good portrayal of the criminal class, the underclass, the working class. It showed a real picture, not guns and getaways. Sure. You know, he has a wife that has a mental breakdown. He's been away. He comes back for revenge, but and I played his best mate, Chris Cottle. And, you know, I had a business that goes down the tubes because I'm trying to look after Frank Ross's wife and his family because we were mates, schoolmates and all that. Anyway, it was very successful and I got a good leg up from that. And the producer of Blake 7 saw me in that, and they were actually swapping over a character called Travis, as you just mentioned. Stephen Greif was playing him, and for reasons best known to Stephen and the producer, they were looking for somebody else. And David Maloney asked me to come in and meet, and asked me if I'd play the part. And but the funny thing was, I thought, oh, this is good. There might be a few series in this. But the guy playing Blake, Gareth, he previous to that, like he was somewhere else. He was at the RSC, and he said to Trevor Nunn, yeah, he said to Trevor Nunn, can I play at the end of the season? Can I have bigger parts? And he said, no, I can't give you any bigger parts. You go away and play some leading parts in theatre and TV, and then come back and we'll see. So of course he went away and got this leading part, Blake. So at the end, towards the end of the series, nobody knows what's going to go on. Towards the end, we're in the BBC bar and he sees Trevor Nunn, and he says, oh, it's Trevor Nunn. I'm going to go over and say hello. And he asked me to play, you know, leading parts, and then I could come back to the RSC, because Gareth was a stage actor. He really liked Shakespeare and stuff like that. So he went over there and had a chat with him and said, look, I'm playing the leading part here and blah, blah, blah. And then some weeks later, he was offered a whole season at the RSC. So he said, I want to leave. Well, my whole reason for being in it as Travis was hate, because he'd blown my eye away and my hand off and stuff like that. I hate Travis. So if he leaves the series, that's my raison d'etre gone. Yeah. So I only did the one season because he wanted to go back to the RSC. He then left the series, and so at episode 13, I vanished down a hole in a planet somewhere.
Well, Blake Seven has still got a lot of fans, and I'm sure a lot of them are going to be watching this interview. You are still obviously remembered, and I know you do conventions and all of that as well. But you've got a bit of news for the Blake Seven fans. So yeah. I will let you tell them the exciting news.
Well, I think those avid followers of Blake Seven know there is this company, this audio company. They don't do visuals; they just do audio. They've put together a trilogy called The Clone Masters, and we recorded. I was asked to be in it. It's a trilogy. I did 2 of the episodes. It's got 3 of the surviving members of the cast: Jan Chappell, Sally Knevitt, and myself. Me being the oldest now. Somebody told me the other day, I said, "Oh, thank you very much. You're the oldest surviving member of the cast of Blake Seven." Yeah, so yeah, we recorded that, and it will be coming out. It will be coming out in September. So look out for that on the Big Finish site. And I can't tell you any more. I'd love to, because I'm a bit of a grass. But no, I played grasses, but as well as all sorts of other things. But no, I can't tell you anymore. I've been forbidden, but I can tell you that's when it's going to be. You can buy it at September of this year, and it's called The Clone Masters. And I think it was fun doing it. I had some fun in one of the episodes. I go a little bit mad, but I can't tell you anymore.
All right, well, look, that's great news for all the Blake Seven fans and fans of Brian Croucher. So the other place that people will know you from appearing week after week, of course, is EastEnders, where you played Ted Hills, which is Kathy's brother, Ian's uncle, really, you're a character they've never killed off, so you could come back, couldn't you?
Apparently, I haven't heard otherwise, but I'm in South Africa. I should imagine I'm sitting by the swimming pool with a glass of white wine at this present time.
That's a very nice place to be, but I think we need to get you back into Walford and back in the Queen Vic.
Well, it would help the decoration of my house, because it's looking a bit. I need some.
So how long were you actually in EastEnders, Brian?
Well, I had a contract for 2 years, which I did, and I don't know. I mean, see, new producers come in and they want to make their name, so they have a bit of a clear out. And I think I went into the dustbin with a number of other people at that time when the new producer came in. But it was interesting. There was what was it? One of my stories. Wendy Richards. Yeah. She said to me once, I went on the back lot and they were filming, and she'd been filming in the morning, and I said, "Oh, hello, Wendy." She went, "Oh, hello, Brian." She went, "Here, have you worked with this new young director here?" I said, "Yeah, I did some work with him yesterday." She said, "I'm not keen on him." I said, "Well, why is that?" She said, "Well, we were doing something this morning, and he said to me, I think what you're thinking in this moment, I said to him, hang on a minute. I've been in this show for 25 years now without a thought in my head. Don't you start putting one in there now. I thought that was so funny.
Brilliant. I know she was, because I know a few people that have been in EastEnders, and they said that Wendy was lovely and always used to turn up on the set with a flask and
dog.
you know,
They used to say, you can't smoke in here. She never stopped smoking, and you can't bring your dog, Wendy. You cannot bring your dog to the studio. The dog came every day.
she was great, and we all miss her greatly. But it'd be lovely to have you back in. So I think it's who's the casting director there now? Is it Julia Crampsey or something like that?
Yeah,
we'll send this to her. We'll get you back in there. We'll find a way of getting you back in the script, right?
Right, fly me in. I don't know if I mean, South Africa's in the red zone at the moment. I don't know if I can get back.
Well, it doesn't. If you watch EastEnders as it is at the moment, it doesn't seem to bother any of them. They're all social distancing, but nobody has stopped travelling. No one's wearing masks, so they've kind of half gone with it and half not.
Well, I did some work. That's another thing that's going to be coming out the latter part of this year. I did some work down in Bristol on the series called Manhunt. This is Manhunt 2. Manhunt.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because this is the big one coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I, in terms of social distancing and working like we did within, well, it was last December and January. I did some work down in Bristol and some up in Charlton in London. But we were all given tests. There was hand sanitizer on the set all the time. For the most part, we wore masks until we actually filmed. And I was across the desk from two police officers with my solicitor there. So we weren't really social distance, but everybody had a mask on all day. But it was very funny because what they do, you rehearse with the actors, you get it right. Yeah. With the director, and then the director said, I'm going to ask the technicians to come in now. So the camera people, sound and all that, they all come in and see what the scene's all about, see where any problems might be. And they all came in, they all had masks on, right? And they were all standing there watching it. I said, this is like a zombie film. It's unbelievable. But the other thing, you're like this in relation to what you were talking about before, about policemen and criminals,
yeah,
and my portrayal of. So I finish a little bit of work, and they say, "Oh, we'll need you in about half an hour, Brian. Go upstairs. There's a room upstairs for the actors." And so I toddled upstairs, and I walk in the room, and there's Clunesy. There's Martin Clunes, who plays the lead in Manhunt, and he went, "Oi, oi, here he comes, criminal aristocracy."
Well, he's not wrong, is he? Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, I quite liked it. Well, somebody's got to play them.
You are definitely criminal aristocracy. So can you tell us any more about Manhunt? When's it going to be on? When are we going to be able to see it on the screen?
I spoke to somebody at Buffalo Pictures, and they that's the company that makes it. Martin and his wife, she's the executive producer up there, Philippa Braithwaite, and they've now put it back to the autumn. So around about September onwards, I think it may. It was going to air in May, but anyway, the first one, if any people watching this would remember, was about the killer Levi Belfield. But basically, just to give you further information, it's based on the diaries or or the book of Chief Inspector Colin Sutton, of which Martin plays, and the famous cases that he was in Murder Squad, and the famous cases that he solved over time. And the first one was Levi Belfield, who killed, amongst others, Millie Dowler, and the case that he solves the case, and Levi Belfield is now inside. And
so it's all true stories, is it?
Oh yeah, they're all based on the cases that Colin Sutton was working on, and this second one is about the Night Stalker of South London, a man called Delroy Grant. In fact, he lived in Brockley, where I spent some of my formative years in my first marriage. I never saw him. I don't know, but he wasn't caught. He was at it for 17 years. There was a gap in between, but he used to burglarize places, houses all over South London, and pick on old people, which wasn't very nice. But that's about all I could tell you. I think it's in 4 parts, and I'm in the second part. Again, not playing a very savoury person.
Yeah, there's a surprise. So what channel's it on?
It's an ITV.
ITV. So yeah. ITV in the autumn with Martin Clunes and the great Brian Croucher. There you go. There's an advert for it, and everyone can put that in their diaries. Now that's obviously the next thing that everybody can see you in. But now, just before we finish this off, and I really don't want to, but we've got to. But before we finish this off, a lot of people will remember you. So we know that Manhunt's the next thing that they can see you in. But it might be that the first thing that anybody saw you in was the Wonderloaf advert. So before we go, I want you to tell me all about the Wonderloaf advert.
Do you know what? You get asked, or you get told that that I was seen in this or that. You go to these conventions, mainly Blake 7 or sci-fi conventions, and people bring up these things and say, I remember you playing that lorry driver in the Wonderloaf commercial. Where was that filmed? I said, was that me? Wonderloaf, because years ago, if you remember, commercials, they always had actors in them, but nowadays you don't see any. They want people so real that they get real people.
Yeah.
You never see an actor, very rarely, that you can recognize in commercials these days. And I did many. I did Guinness commercials. I did Kit Kat commercials. I did Johnson's Tiles. Johnson's Tiles. It was wonderful because you used to go for these commercial interviews, and so there was the good Tyler and the bad Tyler. So you've got these matchsticks, and you're putting the tile up, and you put the matchstick in so that it allows you to grout and all that.
Yeah.
And so I went up there. I went in with a friend of mine, Brian. He played the chef in 40 Towers. Brian Hall.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And we went in. So Brian played the good Tyler. He's, there's like a thing, and he said, "You play the bad Tyler." So I was like, dropping things, and oh dear, and I was doing all of that, and then they said, and I thought, I don't know how to play the good Tyler. So they said, now, Brian Croucher, you played a good Tyler. So I did exactly the same, all dropped it then. I said, I've seen my dad tiling. I said, he's a good Tyler, but it takes him a while. Anyway, they gave me the part. I did did the bad Tyler twice. Johnson's Tiles.
That's brilliant. So not even in that did you get to play the good guy. Listen, Brian, this has been an absolute wonderful interview. I've really thoroughly enjoyed this, and hopefully the viewers have as well. You're an amazing person, and you're still working. You're going to be working for another 20 years, I'm sure, and people will see you in all sorts of things. Your face is very well known to everyone.
And for my sins, I'm still, like your good self, supporting Tottenham Hotspur.
I wasn't going to mention that this week. We were
no. Well, have you got your black armband on?
Well, yeah, but you can't see it. I mean, it's not been a good week for us Spurs fans. Even the sponsors Dulux have had a go at Spurs. So I wasn't going to mention that, Brian. I might edit that out, actually, mate. No,
might paint over that.
It's been a real thrill, and we'll put underneath the broadcast exactly where people can see you, you're just in everything. So listen, mate, please keep safe, keep well, and I'll see you as soon as we can get together.
Yes, good stuff. And it's always a pleasure, Rick, and anytime we can have a chat, I'm always around.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Brian. Take care.
Hello, mate. Cheers for now.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed that as much as I did. He's such a character, and I've known Brian for a long time. He's gonna keep working forever, I'm sure. So remember to watch out for him in Manhunt, which is going to be on in the autumn, and in September, of course, there's all those great things happening for the Blake 7 fans, and let's see if we can get him back into Eastenders as well, because he's going to want to be in that, and he's going to want to keep working. So thank you very much for watching this latest edition of In the Fox's Den. Please remember to subscribe. We've got lots of great interviews coming up, and if you want to find out what's going on, then subscribing is the best way to do that. So thank you very much again, and we will see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.